जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Hare Krishna, we welcome all the devotees to the morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter number 5, titled Vidura's Talks with Maitreya, and Shloka number 27 for discussion today. So kindly repeat after me. Tato bhavan mahattvam avyaktat kalachodhitat विज्ञानात्मा देहस्थम विश्वं व्यंजं स्तमोनुदः ततो भवन महत्तत्वम् अव्यक्तात् कालचोदिता विज्ञानात्मात्मदेहस्थं विश्वं व्यंजं स्तमोनुदः ततो भवन महत्तत्वम् अव्यक्तात् कालचोदिता विज्ञानात्मात्मदेहस्थं विश्वं व्यंजं स्तमोनुदः विश्वं व्यंजनस्तमोनुदः ततो भवन महत्तत्वम् व्यक्तात् कालचोदितात् ज्ञानात्मात्मदेहस्थं विश्वं व्यंजनस्तमोनुदः आत्मात्मदेहस्थं माताजी's ततो भवन महत्तत्वम् अव्यक्तात् कालचोदितात् ज्ञानात्मात्मदेहस्थं Vishwam Vyanjam Stamonudah. We'll see word to word translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So kindly repeat after me. Tataha, thereafter. Abhavat, came into existence. Mahat, supreme. Tattvam, sum total. Avyaktat, from the unmanifested. Kala Choditat, by the interaction of time. Vijnanatma, unalloyed goodness. Atmadehastham, situated on the bodily self. Vishwam, complete universes. Vyanjan, manifesting. Tamonudaha, the supreme light. Translation. Thereafter, influenced by the interactions of eternal time, the supreme sum total of matter called the Mahat Tattva became manifested. And in this Mahat Tattva, the unalloyed goodness, the Supreme Lord, sowed the seeds of universal manifestation out of His own body. Purport. In due course of time, the impregnated material energy was manifested first as the total material ingredients. Everything takes its own time to fructify, and therefore the word Kala Choditat, influenced by time, is used herein. The Mahat Tattva is the total consciousness because a portion of it is represented in everyone as the intellect. The Mahat Tattva is directly connected with the supreme consciousness of the Supreme Being, but still it appears as matter. The Mahat Tattva, or shadow of pure consciousness, is the germinating place of all creation. It is pure goodness with a slight addition of the material mode of passion, and therefore activity is generated from this point. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in this shloka the last word is Tamonudaha, and I remembered one verse from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita glorifying Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Nityananda Prabhu. So, Mande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahoditau Gaudodaya Pushpavantau Chitrau Shamdau Tamonudau. So this verse describes usually the sun and the moon of this world. They arise at different times and they are capable of destroying the darkness outside. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Nityananda Prabhu, how amazing it is that the sun and the moon have arisen at the same time, and this sun and the moon, they just don't destroy the darkness outside, which the ordinary sun can do, but they are capable of destroying the darkness inside. Tamonudau. So Tamonudau means destroying the darkness. So Sri Chaitanya and Sri Nityananda Prabhu, they are also described as Tamonudau, and in this verse also it is described. So it's a very interesting verse describing the technical details of creation and Mahat Tattva and the undifferentiated matter and all that. Some lessons from this description. We may not be able to actually get into the technical details, but just in case anyone is interested, I would like to do justice to the purport and the shloka by speaking the process of creation. So first there is the Lord. From the Lord comes Pradhana. From Pradhan comes unmanifested material energy called Prakriti. From Prakriti comes the condensed form of matter which is called Mahat Tattva. And from Mahat Tattva then comes the false ego. And then false ego interacts with the three modes of nature. And then intelligence is formed, mind is formed, the senses are formed, and then the Pancha Mahabhuta, Bhumi, Rapa, Analo, Vayu, Kham. Right? And in this way the systematic process of creation is given. Sometimes in books of other traditions it is mentioned, let there be creation, and there was creation. So the entire creation process is summed up in one line, that the Lord felt, let there be creation, and then there was creation. But the Vedic scriptures, they definitely mention this. The Lord said, let there be creation, and there was creation. But the final details of the creation, step by step, how the earth element is formed, how the water element is formed, everything is given in details. So that's really very encouraging for any intelligent person to not just know the final outcome, but also know the details of the process. So it is said there are 4 kinds of truths that we can know in this world. First is something that we can immediately accept. If I tell you sugar is sweet, so you accept it. Chili is, that spicy or hot on the tongue. So this is something that you can immediately accept. Second is some truths will be accepted after deliberation. You have to think over it. If somebody says that this material world is Dukhalayam, is explaining from the scriptures, but we may not really accept it. So after some deliberation, we'll see, yes, whenever I have tried, it did not really give me happiness. So this is something that comes after deliberation. Another example is, everything has a creator. Any creation has a creator. And then when somebody tells us, so if this wonderful world also needs to have a creator, yes, it makes sense. So it takes some deliberation, but it may not just dawn on us on the first moment. Third type of truth is something that we understand after experience. So if somebody says, Satyameva Jayate, that truth will prevail no matter what. Now sometimes truth may not prevail. Vijay, Satyaki, it may not happen in our lifetime. But if you see the broad turn of events in history, then you will see how Satyameva Jayate. In the 12th canto of the Bhagavatam, I think the first or the second chapter somewhere there is Bhumi Gita. So Bhumi Devi is narrating her vision. So like a historian writes history. When I was born, this happened. In my youth, this happened. So Bhumi Devi is also acting like an historian. And she is mentioning the whole series of events and summing up since her existence. So she mentions a lot of things there, that how many, many kings came on my back. They traveled on my back in huge pompous processions like big elephants and chariots and all. And when they were living, for a certain number of years, they felt, we are unconquerable. So Julius Caesar is described as Veni Vidi Vici. In Latin, these words mean he came, he saw, he conquered. So Bhumi Devi, in that Bhumi Gita is saying, so many kings spoke like this, Veni Vidi Vici. But finally, they were taken out by the force of time. So Satyameva Jayate, if you are a cruel person, if you're an unjust person, you won't last long. Yes, there may be a temporary spark of glory, but finally truth will prevail. Krishna in the Gita says, Yatta dagre visham iva pariname amrutopamam. That sensual pleasure, it is amrita, iva. It's not amrit, iva. Iva means like. It looks like amrit in the beginning, but pariname amrutopamam. What starts as amrit in the beginning ends with poison, and what starts like poison in the beginning ends with nectar in the end. But this will come only after experience. This may not come after deliberation also, because things are not so clear to us. And the fourth is, we may not really understand it at first go. We may not understand by swamedhaya, deliberation. We may not understand by experience, but we will understand it only after purification. So no matter how much you study, but you need some purification to understand this. And this creation pastimes of the Lord, how there is Mahat-tattva, how there is Pradhan, and how false ego mixes with it, and how all the elements are formed. And even after the elements are formed, so earth element, water element, fire element, air element, ether element, mind element, intelligence element, they're all formed. They're all ready with their controller devatas. So every element has a controller devata. But the Bhagavatam describes, even after all this is ready, it actually does not mix. This body, is it made up of earth element? Yes, primarily. Is there water element in this body? And is there fire element in this body? Because according to Ayurveda, there is a temperature of the body, right? 98.6 Fahrenheit. So it is linked to a subtle fire in the body. And that's why, according to Ayurveda, when your digestion goes down, they say, iski jathar agni kam ho gayi hai. So you wonder, where is the agni? Jathar agni, it's a subtle fire. And Ayurveda, it tries to solve diseases by stoking that fire. It will try to increase that fire. So in this body, there is earth element, there is water element, there is fire element. Is there vata in this body? Those who are getting old and sometimes their knees pain, they know what I'm talking of. So arthritis is a word that does not mention vata, but in Sanskrit it is called sandhi vata. Sandhi means joints, and vata means sometimes there is vata here. So it's very interesting that we are not able to see vata separately. We are not able to see jala separately. We are not able to see agni separately. So why am I mentioning this? That in the creation process which I mentioned in the beginning, so all the elements are formed and all the devatas are also nominated that you take care of this element. But for all these elements to actually mix together harmoniously and to bring about this creation, in every tree, Is there wood element? So wood means fire. Is there water element? Yes. When you try to burn a wet wood, it won't burn very easily. So water is there. Also, when you burn dry wood, then there is ash. So earth element is there, right? So actually, every single thing around us has a mixture of these elements in different proportions. So Sankhya Yoga, in third chapter, Krishna speaks about Sankhya Yoga. So that Sankhya Yoga is basically trying to understand and go to the root of everything by analyzing the elements around us. So you take this wood and then you try to analyze, what elements hai? So clearly earth is there and clearly water is there. Now, how did earth come from? In this way, every single object around you, you go, what is the constituent? What is the constituent? What is the constituent? And in this way, analytically, you reach the source, which is the Supreme Lord. So, even for creation, the Supreme Lord is required. And for nominating the devatas for each element, the Supreme Lord is required. For harmoniously mixing with each other so that this wonderful, there is a bhajan by Bhaktivinoda Thakur called Keshava Tua Jagata Vichitra. That Keshava, you created this world, but it's really amazing, it's really astonishing how you created this material world. So scientists are just trying to understand and appreciate the creation of the Lord. So how amazing must be the Lord? If the creation is so beautiful, how beautiful must be the Creator? So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he gives us a very top bird's eye view of this whole technical details, Mahat Tattva and all, just in case you find it difficult to understand. We could get lost in all these details. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives us a bird's eye view and says, actually to sum it up, he says, the creation Leela of the Lord is actually a part of a manifestation of his Karuna Leela. So why does the Supreme Lord need to get into all this, creating a separate world and then creation of Mahatattva, Pradhan, and it's not really very attractive subject matter, and how the elements are formed and how they mix with each other and all that. Why is the Lord getting into all this? If the Supreme Lord is Raso Vai Saha, the Vedas describe the Supreme Lord as he's actually only Rasa. He's just mellows, relationships. And Vai means indeed. So the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, is actually made up of sweet mellows of relationships. Madhurya, Vatsalya, Sakhya, Dasya, whatever it is. But he just wants relationships. So on one side, the Vedas are describing that the Supreme Lord is just Raso Vai Saha. And how and why is there a need for him to get into such complicated procedures of creating this material world, apparently where there is a lot of forgetfulness of the Lord? Why would a loving person create a world which induces forgetfulness of that same person? Who industrialist, who teacher, whoever, would create a school where he knows that people will forget the headmaster? Why would somebody start a factory where he would know everyone working in that factory more or less is going to forget me? It only takes an extremely soft and a concerned heart for somebody to do this. Why? Because when some of the people are very close to this Raso Vai Saha, instead of having a rasa of friendliness, some of them, unfortunately, have a rasa of envy. So some of them, they think, why is everyone glorifying Krishna here? And as soon as Krishna detects it, he feels, oh, you feel bad when I'm glorified? I have created another facility for you, where there is an illusion that everyone is glorifying you. Would you like to go there? And we say, yes, I would like to try. So here we are. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, decoding all the technical complexities of the second canto and the third canto of the Bhagavatam is telling us, actually to sum it up, it is Karuna Leela of the Lord. It is extreme kindness for you and me, where we'll sufficiently get beaten up, not too much. We will become unconscious if we are too much beaten up. We'll get sufficiently beaten up and we'll say, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Enough. I'm happy to raise my hands. Right? So in Gajendra's prayers, there is a very beautiful shloka He says, Madrik prapanna pashupasha vimokshanaya muktaya bhuri karunaya namolayaya. He's saying, oh, I am a pashu, I am a low-born living entity, and I am also caught not only in the pasha of the crocodile, but also in tamogun. That's like a much bigger pash. There's a much bigger trap of tamogun. In this tamoguni body I am. But, my dear Lord, you are muktaya. You are yourself free from all the modes. But if somebody is free, does he care about those who are caught up? Sometimes yes, but most times no. You know, if you are in a burdensome situation with a group of people and you get free, you want to just escape from there. Main to chala, right? I heard a simple, interaction, a humorous one. Two friends, very good friends, they are on a mountain trek. And suddenly, as they are moving around, they see a tiger. And as soon as they see a tiger, they understand now something is going to happen. And then he also turns in their direction. So maybe it was breakfast time for him. But as soon as he turns, then one of the friends, he bends down and starts tying up his shoelaces tight. So the other friend says, come on, he's a tiger. Do you think you can outdo the tiger? And he says, I don't need to outdo the tiger. I need to outdo you. आपके आगे चला गया तो मेरा काम हो गया, right? So most people who are free, they would not look back at those who are bound up. But Krishna is muktaya bhuri karunaya. Bhuri karunaya means he has a lot of karuna. And that's why the third word that is described is namo alayaya. Laya means laziness. And alayaya means, my dear Lord, here I am trapped in this jaws of a crocodile and the greater jaws of tamogun. I can't get free from this modes also. I can't get free from the crocodile also. But you are mukta. You are extremely compassionate. And you are never lazy to save the conditioned souls. So here we are describing the creation of the Lord, and the Lord is there in the spiritual world where he is mukta, but from there he is looking down upon all of us who are caught up in the material world. Bhuri karunaya. And the third thing is, he is not idle, he is not lazy, and he is trying every effort. Sometimes he comes himself, sometimes he sends his pure representatives, he sends his shastras. Why? So that you and me can get free, we can get attracted to him. There is a very beautiful story in the South Indian tradition. After Sripad Ramanujacharya, Kuresh's son, his name was Parashar Bhatta. So Parashar Bhatta was the next leader of the Sri Sampradaya in South India after Ramanujacharya. So one day, Parashar Bhatta, he goes to Srirangam temple and he talks to the Ranganath Swami deity. And he says, I have a request to you. He's a pure devotee, blessed by Ramanujacharya, son of Kuresh, the great devotee. So the deity talks to him, yes, what is your request? He said, I am not able to glorify you sufficiently. So he says, okay, so can I get something from you that I can glorify you sufficiently? He says, even if I give you what you want, are you sure you will be able to glorify me completely? So he said, yeah, that's a nice question. But still, I want 1,000 heads, the tongues of Anantashesh. So the Lord again asked, are you sure that by getting 1,000 tongues of Anantashesh, you will be able to glorify me completely? Because the Chaitanya Charitamrita mentions, Anantashesh with all his hoods has been glorifying Lord Krishna since the beginning, not of this universe, since the beginning. Spiritual world, beginning, right? And he has not been able to complete the pastimes of Krishna of one day. So Ranganath Swami is asking, even if I give you 1,000 heads of Anantashesh, will you be able to glorify? He said, but at least I want to try. So the Lord, out of his compassion, gives him 1,000 tongues of Anantashesh, powerful and also quality and quantity both. So Parashar Bhatta, he gets those 1,000 tongues and tells the Lord, my dear Lord, I cannot glorify you sufficiently. So the Lord says, I asked you twice. And why do you need 1,000 heads to speak that you cannot glorify me sufficiently? So he said, my dear Lord, I needed 1,000 tongues to tell you sufficiently that I cannot glorify you sufficiently. So the Supreme Lord cannot be glorified sufficiently. how can somebody be so beautiful? How can somebody be so intelligent? How can somebody be so famous? How can somebody be so kind-hearted? How can somebody be so much concerned about you and me who have nothing to do with him? जिसका नाम लेने से हमको आलस आता है, जिसकी पूजा करने से हमको तकलीफ होती है, जिसकी कथा सुनने से हमको उबासी आती है, he is constantly planning, how can I save him? So this is the Supreme Lord, and we need to hear more about him, we need to chant more, and we need to associate with devotees to understand how he is kind-hearted and how unfortunate am I that I have not yet developed any attraction for him. One sadhu, a renowned sadhu, famous sadhu, he met a businessman. And that businessman says, "You are really amazing. How could you renounce the entire material world and become a sadhu?" And that sadhu says, "I am renounced, but you are a much better renounced person than me." He does not understand. He says, "How come?" He says, "I renounce the material world. You renounce the spiritual world." So, it's not to make fun of anybody, but the point is, we actually are such amazing renouncers, me included. We gave up the opulences of the spiritual world, to struggle, just trying to earn 2 paisa here and getting beaten up by Maya Devi. Some time back, maybe last year or something, the President of America had visited India, and along with him came a contingent of his secretary and advisor and all that. That's how it goes. So I still remember a photograph that came in the newspapers that there was a long queue of some of the topmost businessmen of India. And it would take you at least 2 months of following up with their secretaries to go and meet them, right? So all the who's who of the Indian industry, top people, they are standing in a queue. There are no chairs for them, honestly. They're all standing in a queue, the top people, right? And then it mentioned that actually the secretary of the President of America was planning to have a meeting with all these people. And then they wanted to have a trade, bilateral talks with them. So all these top people are standing in a queue with some papers, some offers in their hands, just to meet the secretary of the President of America. So the question to you is it really lucrative to become a rich businessman, or is it really lucrative to become the secretary of a very, very powerful person? So actually all of us were a little better than the secretary of the most powerful person in the spiritual world. But from there we looked at the material world and said, "Hey, he's so rich." Somebody here looked very rich. And what is that thing that pulled us from the opulence of the spiritual world, opulence of having a personal relationship with the Supreme Lord, to trying to earn our own money, to trying to earn everything on ourselves? What is it that attracted us? It is that feeling that in the spiritual world, there are so much rules and regulations, or there is so much bandhan, It's Krishna bandhan, and we gave up Krishna bandhan, and we got caught up in the karma bandhan. So we cannot avoid bandhan. Here there is guna bandhan, there is karma bandhan, there is bad habits bandhan, there is bad thoughts bandhan. We are caught up, right? And in the spiritual world, we were in prema bandhan of Krishna. So there also, there is limited freedom. You can't do certain things when you love somebody, but not out of force. Out of your own will, you say, no, I don't want to do this because I will end up displeasing my lover, somebody whom I love. So there is bandhan in the spiritual world and there is bandhan in the material world. We thought we will escape the bandhan of the spiritual world by coming to the material world, but we didn't escape the bandhan here. So Krishna is saying, yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. And essentially it means that whenever there is a decline in religion, I come to this world. Abhyuthanam adharmasya is also there. What does it exactly mean, dharmasya glani? What is the first thing that comes to our mind when we hear the word dharmasya glani? I asked some students, they told me dharmasya glani would mean probably a place where there is arson, looting, rioting going on, so they feel, "Arey, idhar to glani ho gayi." There's a lot of wrong things going on there. So it all depends on our vision. What exactly is dharma? So the worldly understanding of dharma is be good with everyone, Do your putra dharma, do your social dharma, worldly dharma, laukika dharma. Before we read the Gita, before we came to devotional service, what was dharma? Dharma was the rules of social conduct, is it not? So if that is the conception of dharma, then dharmasya glani means whenever some evil king tries to loot another person, then that is dharmasya glani. And we feel that Krishna comes here to settle scores. But when you read the Gita from a deeper perspective, then you understand dharma is not how you behave with each other. That is a social conduct. Dharma of the body could be that, but we are not the body. We are spirit soul. So what is dharma of the spirit soul? Dharma of the spirit soul is actually service. We might have changed the object of service, but we have never been able to give up our fundamental mood of service. Misapplication of service, we can understand. And there is a famous shloka, Prayena alpayusha sabhya kala avasmin yuge jana manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya hi upadrita. So it is mentioned that people in Kali Yuga, they are so unfortunate, they have this following one by one disqualifications. One is alpa ayusha. They are short-lived. Okay, somebody may say, I am not short-lived. See this line? 108 years. So you are not alpa ayusha. Then it is manda. Manda means lazy for spiritual matters. Then you say, I am long-lived also, and I am very, very enthusiastic for spiritual matters. Then the third is sumandamati, that you may not have the intelligence to understand the scriptures. Then somebody says, I am long-lived also, I am enthusiastic also, I have very nice brain substance, GRE score topmost, right? Then the fourth one is manda bhagya. Manda bhagya means unfortunate. So what is that manda bhagya? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentions manda bhagya means you are long-lived, you are intelligent, you are enthusiastic for devotional service, but you land at the wrong place. All the nice shraddha that you have for the Lord is usurped by some bogus Baba. So many times in the course of preaching, a typical preacher will come across people, very sweet people, and they have that nice shraddha and they have faith in God, but that faith of God should have been actually offered to Gopinath. But somebody, a phony person, a false person who is posing himself as God, who says, I am God, Krishna is not God, then he's basically kidnapping that shraddha. So that is manda bhagya. So imagine, so many of us are short-lived, so many of us are lazy, so many of us don't have brain substance, and here is this person who has conquered these three, and unfortunately he lands up in the wrong organization, where eventually the guru tells them to surrender to him and not to Krishna. So service spirit is there in everyone, but often in this world that service spirit is kidnapped, diverted, and it is misapplied, right? So the natural dharma of a living entity is actually service. And what is dharmasya glani from this perspective then? Dharmasya glani from this perspective is losing the desire to serve Krishna, because that's our original tendency. So all the troubles in our life started when dharmasya glani happened. What is the dharmasya glani that Krishna is referring to? Dharma of the soul got glani. What is that? We lost the desire to serve. And we said, no more service. When I was a young boy, I saw a t-shirt that a young boy in college was wearing. On the front side was written, it is better to serve in hell. It is better to rule in hell. And then on the back side, when he passes by, he said, than to serve in heaven. So that rebellious mood, I'll rule in hell. Surrounded by fire, surrounded by all the torturous things, but I won't serve Krishna, the Supreme Lord. Why? The problem is not in the person, the problem is in me. सेवा नहीं करूंगा मैं प्रभु जी, किसी के सामने झुकूंगा नहीं. And Prabhupada would say, those who do not bow down in front of the Supreme Lord are forced to bow down in front of Krishna when he comes in the form of death. मृत्यु सर्व हरश्चाहम. So तभी सबको दंडवत प्रणाम करना ही पड़ता है. So better to offer दंडवत प्रणाम to this sweet person. So, having turned our face against Krishna, we have come to this material world. The only challenge that we have is giving up the tendency to serve. So the dharmasya glani that all of us as devotees of Krishna need to overcome is, are we working on trying to give up the spirit of rebellion and trying to work essentially on the service spirit? In third canto, Maitreya Muni meets Vidura, and Vidura is speaking to Maitreya. He says, Janasya Krishnat vimukhasya daivat adharmashilasya sudukhitasya. This is giving a sequence. Janasya Krishnat vimukhasya. The only problem that happened is, we were face to face with Krishna. In Sanskrit it is called Unmukh. Unmukh means when you're facing. And the Jana, the living entity, Vimukhat, he just turned his face away from Krishna. So Janasya Krishnat Vimukhasya Daivat. Then what happened as you turn your back towards Krishna? Adharmashilasya. Then you get into adharma. What dharmasya glani I mentioned is giving up the service tendency. As soon as you give up service tendency, then you are caught up in so many other things. Then you serve the wrong master. You serve an ungrateful master. So adharmashilasya. Third thing is sudukhitasya. And then misery dawns in our life. And then of course then he mentions anugrahaya charanti nunam bhutani bhavyani janardanasya. What is the solution to this? He says bhutani bhavyani janardanasya. The Vaishnavas, the Lord many times finds it difficult to come again and to approach every single person, but the pure devotees of the Lord, they leave the spiritual world not out of rebellion, but same Karuna Leela. And they participate in the Karuna Leela of the Lord. They come here and they go to each and every person and say, why have you rebelled? Anyways, you are serving so many masters. Why don't you serve Gopinath? Why don't you serve Krishna? So this is how one thing leads to another, and here we are. So in the Gita, in the 4th chapter towards the end, Krishna is saying, Yathai dhamsi samiddho agnir bhasmasat kurute arjuna jnanagni sarva karmani bhasmasat kurute tatha. Krishna gives the example that how wood is completely consumed by fire. Jnanagni sarva karmani. He says the fire of knowledge consumes everything. Sarva karmani. So sarva karmani means punya and papa both. So if we hear that, then we think, Are punya bhi khatam ho jayega kya bhakti mein? Yes. Why? Because if you have some punya left, you will not be able to go back to the spiritual world. Because punya means you need to have a good, nice, beautiful body. And again, you will be born in the material world. So that's why Krishna is saying, from the spirit, from the perspective of Krishna Bhakti, actually pap is definitely bad. It is unwanted. All of us are aware of that. But actually, we have to give up our attraction and our attachment even to punya if we really want to go back to the spiritual world. Why? The same point. When you want to do papa, who decides to do papa? I. And when I want to do punya, who decides to do punya? Me only. So again, dharmasya glani has not gone. Dharmasya glani is, I will not serve you, I will decide what I want to do. So sometimes I want good things to happen in my life, so I will do religious activities, punya. And sometimes I want something at fast rate, I don't want to pay the price for it, so then I want to do papa. But basically the center of enjoyment is still me only. So that's why from a higher perspective, even engaging in pious activities is an obstacle on the path of pure bhakti. If you want Krishna, we have to be focused on ananya bhakti. It cannot be punya, and definitely it cannot be papa. So, very important for us to understand that we have to always keep ourselves focused on the Supreme Lord. And even though we may not be really able to appreciate the mercy of the Supreme Lord, but we should understand, no, the Shastras are saying, the Supreme Lord himself, why did he create this complicated material world? Karuna Leela, just to help you and me. 10th canto, chapter number 87, the chapter is glorification of Lord Krishna by personified Vedas. Now, most people, when they want to offer their worship to the Devatas, they refer to the Vedas. In the Vedas, in some Rig Veda, Sama Veda, some glorification, like Rig Veda has a lot of glorification of Indra, and some of the other Devatas you'll find there. So, people sometimes say that why only Krishna? Why not the Devatas? Because see, in the Vedas it is written here. So people take advantage of the Vedas and the knowledge written in the Vedas to glorify the Devatas, the administrators of this world. But what about the Vedas themselves? If I take help from this devotee to glorify somebody, and then I see that devotee himself is glorifying somebody else, so then I have to ask him, when I asked you, what should I do? He gave me glorification of somebody, but he himself is doing something else. So the Vedas are mentioning in some sections worship of the Devatas, but what are the personified Vedas doing? So if you read the 87th chapter of the 10th canto, the personified Vedas are glorifying Krishna. So Krishna is so attractive. The Rig Veda, the Sama Veda, the Yajur Veda, the Atharva Veda, the Upanishads, all of them, because they wanted to have a personal relationship with the Lord, they assumed a personal form. Because as a book, they thought we will not be able to have a very nice relationship with the Lord. In a personified form, they came and they offered stuti to the Supreme Lord. The second chapter of the 10th canto is prayers by the demigods in the womb of Devaki. So the Devatas are glorifying Krishna in the womb. He is not even born yet. But they are glorifying Devaki and they are glorifying Krishna. And the Devatas are referring, the Devata worship is there in the Vedas, but that Vedas themselves in a personified form are glorifying Krishna. So in the beginning of this chapter, there is a very nice conversation which is of help to us. Parikshit Maharaj, representing all of us, is asking a question to Shukdev Goswami. And he says, Brahman Brahmani anirdeshye nirgune guna vrittayah katham charanti shrutayah sakshat sad asat pare. In English, his question is, my dear Brahmana Shukdev Goswami, the supreme absolute truth I heard is Tri Gunatit. It is beyond 3 modes. And it does not have any qualities. It does not have any mundane qualities. Anirdeshye. Usko nirdesh nahi kar sakte. You cannot point to the Brahman. So it does not have any qualities. You cannot point to it. So this, how can the Vedas, how can the words of the Vedas, which have a form, which have a sound, and the words, they denote something of this world. When I say red, what comes to your mind? It has a sound, it was perceived with the ear. If somebody is deaf, can you perceive this sound red? No. So this red sound is a material sound, and that red sound, material sound, needs a material object, the sense, ear, to perceive it. So Parikshit Maharaj's question is, if a material object is required to perceive a material sound, and the supreme absolute truth is beyond matter, is beyond the 3 gunas, how can sound vibration be used to understand the Supreme Lord? So and this is a very nice question. And the answer given by Shukdev Goswami is very nice. He says, my dear Parikshit, you are asking this question about the existence of the Supreme Lord with your mouth. So even to ask a question of the Lord, you need a material mouth and a material tongue, and you pronounced a material sound that does God exist? So you are dependent on that. But he gives a very nice reply to it. So this is the second verse of the 87th chapter. He says, Buddhi Indriya Manah Pranam, Buddhi Indriya Manah Pranam, Jananam Asrijat Prabhu. The Prabhu, the Supreme Lord, he created the Indriyas, the Man, the Buddhi for you and me. And then he says, Matrartham cha bhavartham cha atmane akalpanaya cha. He says, for some purposes he gave you this body. Matrartham means for sense gratification. So initially people are interested in sense gratification. Bhavartham means to engage in different activities. So if somebody wants to understand the Lord by doing karma yoga, he uses his body to do some things for the Lord, and then he offers those activities to the Lord. So this is one way to understand the Lord. And then sense gratification also some people want to do. They don't want to serve the Lord. They just want to enjoy their life. For that also, you need, for sense gratification, you need the Indriyas. To have a plan for sense gratification, you need the mind. And to execute the plan, to prepare a proper plan for sense gratification, forgetting the Lord, you need intelligence. But Shukdev Goswami is referring all this for one purpose. He's asking, the body and the senses that are required for enjoying, who gave you? The Lord gave you. The mind which stores all these impressions of sense gratification, who gave you? The Lord. The planning for executing sense gratification, who gave you? The Lord. Similarly, he says, Bhavartham, for sense gratification is Matrartham, but Bhavartham is if you want to do religious activities, okay, you don't want to do sense gratification, so you want to worship the deity in the temple, maybe Devatas, maybe Krishna. Who gave you the body? The Lord. Who gave you the mind to have feelings for Krishna, to offer prayers to Krishna? Are prayers offered with the tongue or are prayers offered with the mind? Yeah, actually prayers are offered with the mind. They may be expressed by your mouth. Now, the vehicle is not the passenger. So the words are basically the vehicles to carry the passenger of our feelings for Krishna. I want to glorify him as the most kind-hearted person. So the feelings are being expressed in words. I may use a different word for kind-hearted. He may use a different word for kind-hearted. But the feeling is kind-hearted, right? So the cars may change, but the passenger does not change. So even for the Devatas, the worship of the Lord, religious duties of the Lord, not Shuddha Bhakti, the body is supplied by the Lord. The mind is supplied by the Lord. The Indriyas are supplied by the Lord. The intelligence is supplied by the Lord, right? And the Prana Shakti, the vital air, without which the consciousness, without which the body won't function, the mind won't function, the senses won't function. Who supplied? Buddhi, Indriya, Manha, Pranam. 4 things Shukdev Goswami mentioned. And the third thing is Akalpanaya cha. Akalpanaya means for ultimate liberation. So 3 things are mentioned by Shukdev Goswami. Sense gratification, forgetting the Lord. Giving some place to the Devatas and the Lord, but doing religious duties. Puja, Archana, ritualistic activities. Somvar ko yahan jayenge, Budhvar ko yahan jayenge, whatever. And the third thing is giving up everything of this world. You decide, I want to go back to the spiritual world. And Shukdev Goswami is saying, whether it is sense gratification, whether it is religious duties, or whether it is spiritual duties, you want to serve Krishna, ahaituki and apratihata. The tools are the body, the mind, the intelligence, and the consciousness. Who gave you? So Shukdev Goswami's logic is, whether you are a sense gratifier, whether you are a simple religious person, or whether you are a pure devotee, you are dependent on the facilities provided by the Lord. If the Lord did not give you manaha, prana, buddhi, and indriya, you cannot do sense gratification also. You cannot do your religious, ritualistic duties, which are without any emotions. You just do it because mummy ne bataya, pitaji ne bataya, right? And even if you want to do Shuddha Bhakti, you are dependent on the Lord. So Shukdev Goswami is saying, if everything in this world, this is like the widest spectrum, from forgetting the Lord to serving the Lord purely, how can you do anything in this world without being dependent on the Lord? So, if you have the proper consciousness, and if you offer a prayer to the Lord, that my dear Lord, I want to actually understand you properly, I want to serve you properly. If the Lord can give you body, mind, senses, and consciousness to forget Him, if you offer the right prayers to Him, if you offer your emotions to Him, will He give you remembrance of Him? So Parikshit Maharaj has asked a very deep question. Words are material. How can they help us understand the Nirguna Krishna? And Shukdev Goswami's answer is, wait a minute. Whatever anybody is doing in this material world is dependent on the mercy of the Lord. So भगवान को भूलने की शक्ति भी भगवान ने दी हुई फैसिलिटीज से आ रही है. तो अगर हम प्रामाणिकता से भगवान को याद करेंगे और उनको इच्छा प्रकट करेंगे कि हम आपको जानना चाहते हैं, हम आपके करीब आना चाहते हैं, I want to serve you. George Harrison wrote a very beautiful song in those days. My oh sweet Lord, my sweet Lord, I want to come close to you, I want to serve you, I want to see you, my Lord. So all it takes is a sincere expression of your feelings that whoever I am lusty, I'm greedy, I am envious, I have so many shortcomings, but I have one good quality. I want to serve you. And on the other side is so many people in this world who are actually free from lust. They are actually very nice gentlemen in their talking, in their behaving and everything, but they have one small defect. They don't want to serve God. All their good qualities are so that they can earn name and fame in this world. मालूम है मैं कितना gentleman हूँ? Do you know how many poor people I have helped with my charity? Right? So there's nothing wrong in charity. There's nothing wrong in being a good person. But we should be very careful that dharmasya glani has to be addressed. So the bhakti process does not lay so much emphasis on developing good qualities. It does not mean they are not important. But the root of all good qualities is addressing the root cause why we left We renounced the spiritual world to come to the material world. And we became the biggest renouncers. So, again and again in the bhakti process, it will be mentioned. Are you serving Krishna? Do you want to serve Krishna? In what ways are you serving Krishna? Would you like to go deeper in your service to Krishna? So sometimes if we don't understand this mathematics, then we feel, अरे यहाँ पे सद्गुणों के बारे में चर्चा नहीं करते क्या? हमेशा हर प्रवचन में रहता है कि भगवान की सेवा करो, हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र जो ये लोग हमेशा गाते रहते हैं. The meaning of the Hare Krishna mantra is also that only. Oh Krishna, oh Radha Rani, can I serve? So much of service, service, service. Why? Because service is the root reason why somebody can go back to the spiritual world, and rebellion or rejection of service is the primary reason why we came to the material world. So this is 8th canto, chapter number 24. This is last chapter of canto 8, and this is shloka number 38. So the last canto, the last chapter of 8th canto is Matsya, Matsya Avatar. So Matsya Avatar is offered prayers by Satyavrat king. And at the end of those prayers, the Supreme Lord, Matsya, he speaks to Satyavrat. And the last shloka, this is the last words of Matsya. He says, Madiyam mahimanam cha parabrahmeti shabditam vetsyasi anugrahitam me samprashnair vivritam hridhi. This shloka is very important for us. Why? I'll explain. Madiyam mahimanam te. The Supreme Lord, Matsya, is telling, you want to know my glories? Para Brahma iti shabditam. The literal meaning of the word shabditam is when you encapsulate something in words. So that was the original question of Parikshit Maharaj. How can material words denote the Nirguna Supreme Lord? But Matsya, playing the role of the Supreme Lord, he's saying, Para Brahma, I am Para Brahma. You are all Brahma, but I am Para Brahma. But I can be expressed by words. Para Brahmeti Shabditam. And then he says, Vetsyasi ani anugrahitam me. You want to know me? Although you are captured by material body, your senses are all material, but you want to know me? Anugrahitam me. You can know me not by your endeavors. You can know me not if you have sufficient tools. You can know me only by my mercy. Samprashnair vivritam hrido. He's saying, but to know me and for me to reveal myself to you, you have to ask samprashnair. You have to ask questions. Questions does not mean just asking questions in some language. Basically, it means inquisitiveness. To have always that inquisitiveness. I want to know more about God. So if I am far away from a temple, I will open a book. If I am close to a temple, I will listen live. If I am somewhere in between, I'll open YouTube and I'll connect to the Bhagavatam class, or I'll connect to the seminar on Krishna Leela, whatever. Right? But do we have inquisitiveness to go forward? Or are we satisfied with 2 shlokas of the Gita that we know? One time His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj was asked a question by somebody that this was a Mataji. So she said, Maharaj, you know, when after your Bhagavatam class, when you say any question, so many devotees ask questions. But I don't know why, but I don't feel like asking questions. So is there something wrong in me? Maharaj gave a very nice answer. Maharaj said, actually, it's not just the act of raising your hand and asking questions. It is the feeling of inquisitiveness in the heart. And then Maharaj mentioned, when you are at your home and you remember that today is Bhagavatam class and there is a possibility that I can go, it's not a weekday, it's a weekend, just that desire to eagerly go and attend the Bhagavatam class is an expression of your inquisitiveness in the heart. Oh, in the today's Bhagavatam class, what will the speaker speak? In today's Bhagavatam class, what will be the shloka? In today's Bhagavatam class, what example will be given? In today's Bhagavatam class, what will be the discussion? So that inquisitiveness is what is pulling people to the Bhagavatam class as per their capacity. So when we come to the Bhagavatam class and we sit there, we do not even have to raise our hand and, excuse me, you said this, but I have a... No, if you're just inquisitive, what more will come? What other aspect of Krishna will be there today? I didn't know this story about Krishna. Today I got to know this aspect of Krishna. That itself is sufficient inquisitiveness. So that was a very deep understanding, and that's why Matsya is saying, in reference to our discussion from 10th canto 87th chapter, how can material sound vibration capture the 3 Gunatita Lord? But Matsya is saying, Para Brahmeti Shabditam. Actually, if I want, I have given you facilities to enjoy this world. With the same facilities, if I want, I can make myself known to all of you, even though your ears are technically material. So when we start listening to the Hare Krishna mantra, what exactly happens? When we start hearing Krishna Katha attentively and with inquisitiveness, what exactly happens? It's not that this ear starts shining suddenly. This is spiritual ear now. So, right? Yesterday we were listening to Prabhupada Leelamrit, our Brahmachari Prasad, we hear Prabhupada Leelamrit. So Prabhupada was, somebody was, he came with paintings from the Bhagavatam. And he was asking Prabhupada, is this right, is this not right? So Prabhupada mentioned, what I heard, there was, I think, Prahlad's paintings were being asked. So Prabhupada said, the tridents used by the Danavas, they did not really touch Prahlad, but they threatened Prahlad with that. So it seems that in the painting, the tridents were used to pierce Prahlad's body. But Prabhupada said they didn't pierce. It was just threatened. So interesting, right? It's like Prabhupada is actually seeing what happened in Satyuga, and वो touch नहीं किया था, वो खुद नहीं निकला था, just उसको threaten किया था, त्रिशूल से मारेंगे तुमको करके. And another thing that he mentioned is, don't show a halo behind Prahlad. Don't show that typical light that they show behind, So every other organization except ISKCON, you see photos of their saintly personalities, they will have a light behind. Did you ever see a light behind Prabhupada's photo? Did you ever see a light behind Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's photo? Why we don't believe in all that, external spirituality? ये गुरु है, कैसे समझेगा आपको? उनके फोटो के पीछे यहाँ जब तक लाइट नहीं रहेंगे तभी, he's not greater than you. Right? So in typical photographs of some other organization, the guru is there, the disciples are there. The disciples don't have a light, and the guru has a light behind him, right? So that's how they're telling you, ये guru है. We don't believe in that. It's not that the ear starts shining because now this ear has been listening to Krishna Katha for the last 40 years. It's not that the mouth starts shining, the tongue starts shining. It's not that there's a halo behind. It is, what is the subject matter that you're exposing your ear to? What is the subject matter that is being expressed by the tongue? So, spiritualizing your body, spiritualizing your tongue, spiritualizing your ear has nothing to do with externals. Prabhupada would give the simple example. Is this stand material or spiritual? So the first thought is, it's material. Wood, simple. Kyun puch rahe? But Prabhupada would say, because this wood is right now being utilized for keeping the Bhagavatam, so now it is engaged in Krishna service, so it is spiritual. The bricks that are used for building this wall and the bricks that are used for building any other building in Bombay, do we have, ISKCON brick factory also? I never heard ISKCON brick factory that manufactures special bricks only for temples and only for pure devotees' homes. No, these bricks also came from the same factory from where all the other bricks of other companies, other buildings came. But what is so special about these bricks? These bricks are used for building a home for Gopinath. So this is what makes spiritual. And it looks very ordinary, but actually if we just understand this, we can spiritualize our whole life. Every word we speak, we just have to be conscious. Am I trying to glorify Krishna with these words? Directly or indirectly? Through my words, through my actions, am I trying to glorify? If you are, every breath is spiritual. Every word is spiritual. Every thought can be spiritualized. That am I constantly thinking, how can I do something more for Krishna? So this is how you spiritualize your mind. This is how you spiritualize your tongue. You don't have to do something fancy. You don't have to do something extraordinary in that sense. But the extraordinariness of a devotee is not in terms of his externalities. The extraordinariness of a devotee is that he has that uncanny ability that every small sentence that he speaks, he can connect to Krishna. Everything he sees in this world, he can see the power of Krishna there. He can see the hand of Krishna there. So that is the ability that we all have to develop over a period of time. Our sadhana is meant for slowly spiritualizing our mundane eyes, our mundane tongue, our mundane nose, our mundane ears, and our mundane sense of touch. So this is Shukdev Goswami's answer that how can ordinary words capture the Supreme Lord who is Tri Gunatita? Now in Gita, it is mentioned that there are 3 levels of understanding of knowledge. So in the 9th chapter, Krishna will say, Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam, Pavitramidam Uttam. So Raja Guhyam means the highest Guhya. Guhya means secret. So he says, 9th chapter, I'm going to speak to you the king of all secrets. So in Sanskrit, positive, comparative, and superlative. Good, better, best. There are three ways in which you can speak, glorify. So good is positive case, better is comparative case, and best is superlative case. So in Sanskrit, the equivalent is guhya, positive, guhya tara. Guhya tara means more guhya, so it is comparative. And guhya tama means superlative. So the acharyas, looking at the teachings of Krishna, they have divided the knowledge that Krishna gives into three parts. Guhya, guhya tara, and guhya tama. Now Krishna does not use these words guhya and guhya tara, but he uses guhya tama, raja vidya, raja guhyam. So what is guhya? In the second chapter, when he's describing the qualities of the soul, then one of the shlokas he says, some look upon the soul as amazing, some hear of the soul as amazing. So basically nobody knows that in this body there is a spirit soul. So we could, take it as guhya knowledge. Just to know that we are not this body and we are a spirit soul inside is a big secret. How many people in this world are on this level to understand we are not this body and also we are not this mind. We are something much deeper than that, the spirit soul. 99.9% of the people are today engaged in sensual activities because they are completely convinced that they are the body, and because they are the body, activities that will give pleasure to the body will give pleasure to them. That's the whole basis of the Western civilization. So, the knowledge that Krishna speaks in the second chapter, which according to us is a preliminary knowledge, you are not the body, your spirit soul, is actually guhya. It's actually secret. And then, when Krishna says that Sarva Yonishu Kaunteya Aham Bija Pradha Pita, not only you are spirit soul, but you have a relationship with me. What relationship you have? Not dasya. Not that I am your master and you are my servant. Actually, our relationship is, I am your father. Mama eva amsha. So, when somebody gets to know for the first time, I am not the body, I am spirit soul, that is a major revelation. It's actually a very big discovery. When Socrates would speak philosophy which was not agreeable to the then king, at one point of time, the king sent some servants with poison. It was called hemlock. So the king sent hemlock poison to give to Socrates. So when the servants came and they said, Socrates, so now, we need to give you poison. So Socrates spoke a very nice, interesting sentence. He says, first you have to capture me and then you can kill me. So they were kind of threatening him that we are here to kill you because you speak something else. But he said, first you need to capture me to kill me. And when this was told to Prabhupada, Prabhupada said, oh, it means he is on a spiritual platform. Because he understood, I am not this body. The servants of the king can capture the body, but first you have to capture the soul to kill the soul. You cannot kill me. Basically, that was the point. He took that poison and his body, he left the body. But why am I mentioning this? That in the Western world, Greek philosophy is considered to be very high. Our Indians, we have been trained to look down upon Vedic philosophy, Vedic understanding of life. But in the Western world, philosophy, MA in philosophy. What is basically MA in philosophy? Very rarely it is MA in Vedic philosophy. It's usually Greek philosophy. So the Greeks, it was tough for them to understand that Socrates is saying that Socrates, Aristotle, Plato, they're all disciplic succession only. Right? So for that person to say, first you have to capture me to kill me, was like a very earth-shattering thing. And even today, they don't really have understood. Another philosopher in the West, he went beyond the body, but he did not reach the soul. There is a thinking man exhibit in the West. In France, there is this exhibit, there's a sculpture like this. It's a famous sculpture. So it's called Thinking Man. So the person who carved that, he said, I think, therefore I am. So he understood I am not the body, but he said, I am the mind. I think, therefore. So his existence is not related to the body, his existence is related to something beyond the body, the thinking capacity, which is the mind. That's the highest where the Western philosophy has gone. And that's the first thing that Krishna speaks. Ashochan anvashochastvam pradnyavadamsha bhashase gatasun agatasumsha nanu shochanti panditaha. The first chastising verse of Krishna is, somebody who laments for the dead or the living is not a Pandit, is not a learned man. These are the first words of Krishna in the Gita, 2.11. So where the Western philosophy has not yet reached, Krishna starts from there. But our Acharyas are saying, even that is also preliminary. That is Guhya. That is not Guhyatara. Guhyatara is this spirit soul who is much deeper than the body and the mind, has actually a very personal relationship with the Lord. It's not a distant relationship. It's very close. It's a son-father relationship. It's a very intimate relationship. So that's Guhyatara. That is more deeper secret. And the highest of all secrets, Guhyatama, is that you can have a loving, intimate relationship with the Lord. So which is Bhakti Yoga, which Krishna speaks in the 9th chapter. Now, the Western philosophy where it stops, Krishna starts, Guhya, Guhyatara and Guhyatama. And after the Bhagavad Gita, after Krishna spoke, we have Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asked by Srila Sanatana Goswami, Gramya Vyavahare Pandita Kahe, Tai Satyamani, Apanara Hita Hitu Kichu na Jani. He says, Gramya Vyavahare, I am so expert in all the worldly dealings. Gramya Vyavahare Pandita Kahe. People call me Pandit. Arey, ye to itna expert hai, worldly dealings mein ekdam expert hai, Tai Satyamani. And I also accept it. But what kind of a Pandit I am? Apanara Hita Hita Kichu na Jani. I know how to earn money. I know how to fool people. I know how to get things done in this world by speaking the right words at the right time in the right way to get the right impact. But apanara hita hita kichu na jani. I don't know what is good for me and what is not good for me. So in this mood, Sanatana Goswami, who was the most trusted finance minister of Nawab Hussain Shah, on whose responsibility the Nawab had put the entire kingdom and he would enjoy life, that person in front of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, apanara hita hita kichu na jani. So he says, can you please tell me what is good for me? And when there is some prashna here, like this, so apparently the sound is material, the mouth is material, but what is the mood? What is the feelings? I want to come close to you. I want to know you. I want to serve you. Can I know something more about you? That inquisitiveness is there. So what did Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say? The first words that came out of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, Jivera Swarupa Hoye, Krishnera Nityadas, Jiva Tatastha Shakti, Bheda Abheda Prakash. And why are we quoting this? We explained how Western philosophy has not yet reached the preliminary level of Vedic philosophy, the Gita, Guhya, Guhyatara and Guhyatama, right? Another way of looking at this Guhya, Guhyatara and Guhyatama is what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. When Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's followers and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what do you know about the Vedas? You know that famous dialogue where Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya instructed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for 7 days and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not wink. His eyebrows did not move. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is saying, समझ में आया क्या कुछ? 7 दिन से मैं वेदांत बोल रहा हूँ. Did you understand anything? And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with that same stoic face said, actually the knowledge of the Vedas is like the sun and your explanations are like the cloud. I know the Vedas. What you spoke is a cloud. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the Rajguru, the most respected person, more than the king, he's the guru of the king. When he heard this, my explanations are like the cloud and your understanding of the Vedas is like the sun. So please tell me, what is it? So that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, all the Vedas, all the knowledge in the Vedas can be summed up into 3 categories. Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojan. So this Guhya, Guhyatara and Guhyatama, if you compare to this, is it not the same? Sambandha, who am I, is your spirit soul. And Abhidheya is what is your relationship with the Lord. So what is your relationship with the Lord? The son and the father relation. What should the son do for the father? Serve him. And Guhyatama is intimate, friendly relations, intimate service, loving service, ahetuki, without any swartha, right? So that is prayojan. What will you do when you go to the spiritual world? What is there to do in the spiritual world? Prayojan, what is the prayojan in the spiritual world? Without any selfishness and without any breaks, you'll just completely, maro bhi rakho bhi, jo ichha tohar. So complete dependence on the Lord, complete service to the Lord with no selfishness is the prayojan, and that is Guhyatama in the 9th chapter. So Guhya, Guhyatara and Guhyatama can be compared to Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojan. And now I'm coming to the point which I wanted to mention, that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is speaking in the very first sentence that Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nityadas. Do you see all three tattvas in this sentence? Is there Sambandha tattva in Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nityadas? Right? So who are you? You're Das. So that is our Sambandha. And what is our Abhideya? Krishnera Das. इंडिपेंडेंट दास नहीं है आप, तो फिर आप किसी की भी सेवा करेंगे नहीं. संबंध और के बाद में अभिधेय आना चाहिए. तो अभिधेय क्या है? सर्व कृष्णा, ग्लोरीफाई कृष्णा, हियर अबाउट कृष्णा, वर्शिप कृष्णा, श्रवणम कीर्तनम, विष्णु स्मरणम, पाद सेवनम, अर्चनम वंदनम दास्यम, सख्यम आत्म निवेदनम. So there is Sambandha Gyan in Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishna Nityadas. There is Abhideya Gyan in Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishna Nityadas. And is there Prayojan Tattva in Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishna Nityadas? It's not a temporary activity. What I am telling you to serve Krishna is not just in the material world. That is your Siddha Swarup in the spiritual world. What is your Swarup, my dear friend? It's not that service to Krishna is a ladder to climb to a higher level of Krishna consciousness. Service to Krishna is the ladder and the goal both. Chanting of Hare Krishna is not the sadhana that you reach love of Krishna, and when you reach love of Krishna, which is the sadhya, you give up chanting of the holy names. Chanting of the holy names is the sadhana tattva also, and the sadhya tattva also. People like us who are full of all the six anarthas, we chant Hare Krishna, but we chant without any love for Krishna. And the gopis and Srimati Radharani, they are also chanting Hare Krishna. Golokera Premadhana Harinama Sankirtana. The Harinam Sankirtan is not something manufactured by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Golokera Premadhana. It has been imported from Golok Vrindavan. So, the gopis and Srimati Radharani also chant the same Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and you and me are also chanting the same Hare Krishna Mahamantra, but the difference is we are doing it at sadhana level. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't like it, sometimes I feel bored, sometimes I feel sleepy, sometimes I feel energetic, sometimes I feel I want to chant extra, sometimes I feel I don't want to chant 16. Nevertheless, keep chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So what we are doing as sadhana, the pure devotees of the spiritual world, they are doing at sadhya. So, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Western philosophy stopped short of guhya, stopped short of Sambandha Gyan. Krishna gave Sambandha, Abhideya and Prayojan. He spread it across the Gita. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, knowing the short lifespan that we have, the simple tiny brain that we have, he's saying, इनको इतना लंबा अगर बताऊंगा तो समझ में ही नहीं आएगा. So in the first sentence, जीवेर स्वरूप होय कृष्णेर नित्य दास. So das is Sambandha Gyan. Krishnera das is Abhideya Gyan. That's your what you do now. You serve Krishna. You don't serve anybody else. And just in case you feel this is a temporary thing that I have to do in the material world, when I go to the spiritual world, I'll be a free bird. No, that is a Swarupa. That means that is Prayojan Gyan also. How mercifully Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that what Krishna spoke in the entirety of the Gita at different places, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu condensed in one sentence. And what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave in one sentence, which Krishna gave in the Gita, Sarva Upanishado Gavo Dogda Gopala Nandana, Partha Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta Dugdham Gita Amritam Mahat. The essence of all the Upanishads is the Gita Upanishad. And Upanishads are the essence of the Vedas. So the Vedas, if you read all the Vedas, you will understand three tattvas: Sambandha, Abhideya and Prayojan. That essence Krishna condensed in one Gita-Upanishad, but still 700 shlokas. Out of 550 Krishna spoke. So वेद पढ़ने के लिए समय नहीं है, तो भगवान ने गीता दिया. तो हम लोग बोले प्रभु जी गीता भी लंबी है. 550 श्लोक बहुत हो जाते हैं. Can we have, a short Gita course? 1 hour can you teach me Gita, right? So then you have to come to the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where he says, okay, you want short of the short of the short. I'll tell you. Essentially, my dear friends, you are a servant of Krishna, and that's your eternal constitutional position. The more we understand this simple sentence, I am an eternal servant of Krishna, and that's why my happiness is the more I develop this mood. I may express it through my words, I may express it through my actions, I may express it through my feeling, my songs, whatever it is. But we have to basically deepen our mood of servitude and how I am a servant of the Supreme Lord and His servants. So, the Jiva fell from the spiritual world to the material world, and then he falls into love with different people and different things of this world. So 2 times there is a fall down. We fell from the spiritual world into material world, and in the material we fall in love with things of this world, with people of this world, and the philosophies of this world, which are all rebellious, right? And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his representatives like Srila Prabhupada, they first make us rise in Kirtan, and through Kirtan they make us rise from the material world to the spiritual world. So 2 times we fell down, and Srila Prabhupada is making us rise 2 times. So I think it's time for us to rise in Kirtan, and then if we rise in Kirtan properly and we chant the holy names properly, then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will also make us rise to the spiritual world. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki Jai, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Namah